Hi, everybody. We are live on Facebook. This is Ryan Lanier, Organizing for Good, coming to you with the nonprofit shout out interview. I say it every week, but I mean it every week. This is my favorite time of the week. And something unusual, though, just happened. For the first time ever in the nonprofit shout out interview, I'm getting ready to talk to my guest of honor. And he says, I'm sorry, I need to go check on a chicken who's not where he needs to be. So this is why we love talking to Chris Fuller-Wig of Austin Farm Sanctuary. Welcome back.
Glad to be here. Thanks a lot, Ryan. And hello, everybody.
It's been almost a year, late October. We did get you outside with Buddy last year, but he's a big boy now. He's standoffish teenager. He didn't want to sit in Papa's lap today.
Which I wish was the case. He would have been just as down to be like, okay. Yeah. He's probably bummed. I told him yesterday there was a Zoom meeting. He's like, I love me some Zooms. So this is on me. But he would have loved it. Other life work, unfortunately, allowed me to not go outside today.
We're just gonna have to roll with it. But thank you for the picture. That is fantastic.
Yes, actually,
I like
here's Buddy.
I like the grass right here.
Oh yeah, he's a country boy. He likes to hold some wheat in his mouth, so people know.
Anyway, so I'm so excited to circle back with you and hear the new exciting. You guys have been through. I mean, let's just take a moment. You guys have been on. You've had a lot. You've had heartbreak. You've had excitement. It's been a big year for you guys.
Yeah. 2021's been big. The close of Q4. But yeah, it really has been a year since we chatted. It's been a lot.
Yeah. Well, just briefly say what Austin Farm Sanctuary is, and then just launch into some updates.
Cool. Yeah. So Austin Farm Sanctuary is a 501c3 nonprofit farm animal rescue. And what we do is we focus on the rescue, rehabilitation, and rehoming more often than not, providing a forever home at our sanctuary to farmed animals. So what that means is chickens, goats, ducks, donkeys, cows, pigs, what have you, get to find their forever home and kind of safe place in ours and our team's care. I'm happy I can go on a riff with all of the things that are tied to that. If you have any specific questions, Ryan, I'll pause.
I mean, I just love the fact that I now know what that is, that it's a thing. That's it, a thing. Sorry, I'm not being distracted here. I'm trying to make sure.
No worries.
We're live on Facebook.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, give that a check. I'll keep chatting.
We are. Keep chatting. Yeah. So go for it. This is new.
We started a little bit about us. So we started at the end of 2016, basically. That led to a couple months later where everything really changed as we got a phone call about a pig named Doya. Doya was being raised through FFA, Future Farmers of America. He was about 120 pounds, putting on 10 pounds a week, 6 months old, and had 2 days to live. At the end of their project in FFA, the kids take them to show, people bid on them, they're killed for meat. Unless they want to and can find some other option. Most kids that want to find another option aren't able to, especially this student went to Bowie High School, lived in an apartment in Central South Austin. Like there was not a means of getting pig relocated, but we got the phone call from our neighbor who said, hey, y'all have goats. I know through the grapevine of this person that has a pig that's in need and y'all seem to like weird animals. Can you help? And I grew up in like the suburbia of Galveston and Houston. Like farm animals was not an awareness that I had at the time. My wife and I were already vegan. So like we had an awareness and care for animals in that way, but that was more of but nothing really proactive, not like we were an activist or we weren't kind of doing a way to proactively save them. And Doya was a little bit of like that first step into that area of kind of proactively advocating for them. And really Doya changed everything, laying down with him coming up to us for belly rubs, looking him in the eye and feeling how sentient and individualistic he was, introduced us to this whole new world of beyond dogs and cats that we could care for and rescue. farmed animals. So that half acre filled up very quickly in 2018. In July of 2018, we moved to the current property, which is a 5-acre piece of land out in Cedar Creek, Texas, a little bit east of the Austin airport. And the most exciting and kind of recent news is then another 3 years later, just this year in June of 2021, we were able to close on 40 acres of land, a little bit further outside of town to keep chasing the dream.
That is amazing. Will that be like a full-time move away and then the other property will be sold? Or are you going to
Good
maintain
question.
both properties?
Yeah, we're working on the logistics of that. So right now we'll be keeping both so that there can be flexibility to move all of the residents over. Once all of the residents are moved over, we'll kind of see, is this a place where Angela and I will have as like a base that can be used for quarantine or overflow, or
Right.
if some other sanctuary is taking in 5 goats and they need like a quarantine or temporary spot to allow them to do X, Y, and Z and then move along. So we'll kind of see what it's like. And, you know, there's a part of me that really wants to live at the new land, to be at the sanctuary, but we'll also see, is there a value in a little bit of like that separation to, you know, start our family and kind of have those things and then kind of commute to work sometimes. So, yeah.
And what's the distance between the two properties?
About 25 minutes. So just on the other side of Bastrop, on like the southwest side of Bastrop, that's on the northeast. So, but it's the most beautiful drive. It's not a drive that I have a problem making, for sure. It's very country drive.
Been enjoying the pictures. And speaking of, if anyone watching is not currently following Austin Farm Sanctuary on Instagram/TikTok, do that immediately. So this morning I got to enjoy a pig having, one of your pig friends having their sunscreen applied to the ears. I think I watched that like 6 times in a row. I was mesmerized by the joy. And it's funny because putting sunscreen on my children was never such a serene experience. But what was her name? Who
Sissy.
was that? Sissy was just like, bring it, like, just, oh my gosh. So it's just such a
well, I appreciate you saying that. And like, please do check us out on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of the above. And, you know, when Angela and I started the sanctuary, it was because, one, we wanted to provide forever homes to farm animals, but we thought again that was going to happen in the half-acre backyard. We didn't expect it to be this larger part of the community. And we wanted to, like, we had never seen a pig in the way that we saw Doya, like the amount of love that we could have for them, the way that we could just feel about a dog or a cat, we could feel about a pig. And that's something. I'm glad that you watched that and were like entertained by it and intrigued by it, because I think that, getting to see Sissy, who's about 500 pounds, incredibly docile and loving, was used as a breeder pig through FFA, like was a product, but now is very much so a pig person that loves to have her volunteers come up and pamper her and care for her and keep her safe, and shows that love. And so I think just being able to afford like that kind of humanity really on these animals, like you just kind of see the dividends of like, oh, I'm asking them to trust me. And then look what happens when they are open and able to give that trust. They can have sunbum spread all over them and like think it's the greatest thing. And if you go back to last week, you'll see a video of Doya. Doya is the first pig we rescued, and getting to see him have sunscreen applied to him. And he kind of like pauses for a second, and then he just like settles in, and he's just like, okay, let's get my sunscreen massage.
Right. Wow. Yeah. You really have opened my eyes to a lot more animals and sensing their feelings. I mean, you really,
thank you.
Really have. I both hate it because I'm such a feeler. That I'm like, oh, great. Now there's a whole bunch more creatures in the world I need to like. I just can't. When you're an empath, you're an empath. But it is it's so beautiful. And but I know that you guys work extremely hard. Like, just talk about what it takes on the daily, on the weekly. How do you get all this done? I mean, I've been there, I've seen it, and only what I saw, I know was scratching the surface.
Yeah. When did you come out? Was it earlier this year?
It was. I've been twice.
Mhm.
And yeah.
You might have
Um,
joined us right before. If it was before May, then you joined us before like Baby Palooza that happened over here. Or
yes,
maybe,
yes, before
yeah,
all of that. Yeah. Oof,
yeah.
what a journey.
Yeah. So, I mean, just for some context, so when we started in 2017, we had 3 residents. When we moved to the property that we're on right now in 2018, we had 15 residents. Residents is what we call our full-time, rescues.
Love
And
it.
then now we have just over 100 full-time residents.
Whoa.
So, yeah, to speak to a little bit
They're
of
not all
scaling,
pigs and cows, which
this
is
is
good.
true. Yes. Yeah.
Some are a little
Yeah.
smaller, but still.
Yeah, 15 to 20 of those. Yeah, about almost 20 of those are chickens. So there are some smaller ones in the mix, but we do have, 8 cows and 16 pigs. So there's a lot of them are large animals.
Yes.
But yeah, to speak to you, I guess, so the reason I asked that is because, as we've grown, obviously the dial just increases every time you add even one animal, be it a chicken, it goes up a little bit. You add some cows or pigs, and then this May, the dial turned up a lot on us. And that was obviously we selectively turned up the dial, but we had a number of things. What happens in spring is life happens in spring, which just means
Right.
that there's life in need in spring. So we took in, in April, it was our battle with Tractor Supply that we wage every year. Them shipping in thousands of chicks on a weekly basis. Then we save the ones that are dying in the back of their stores. And that kind of kicked off the year and led to then us rescuing 4 baby piglets whose mom was killed and they were left to die in the woods. And then a goat that was found on the side of the road that was at 2 weeks old, and another goat found on the side of the road at 2 weeks old. And then Wendell, who we'll talk about a little bit later, our precious,
Oh, yeah.
our precious calf that unfortunately passed a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then also 2 additional goats that are babies we rescued. So May, and between April and May, we added about 30 of the current 100 residents to the sanctuary, and
Wow.
so that turned up the dial a lot. But your question is the work and the things that we do, and that's been an interesting thing. When we first started, when you think about starting a nonprofit farm animal rescue, most of your thoughts goes into like animal care, obviously, but then like everything that scales on the same side is like the fundraising aspect and like the marketing cares and the grant writing and all of that. But on a daily basis, when we're really focused on like the animal care, there's morning and evening feeding. We've got a lot of animals. When you can imagine of 100, a lot of them on meds, whether they're shots or oral meds or twice a day, or the vet was out here just this morning to fix stitches on one of our goats, Norbert, who got a lump removed. And so there's always things that are kind of in motion. Norbert, named after one of the dragons from Harry Potter.
I love your name. I love the naming, all the names out there. So good. Yeah. So food, meds, weather,
food, meds, water.
Weather.
I mean, surviving the February freeze, surviving 103-degree heat that comes through. So there's a lot of it that goes into, like land preparation and kind of care to make sure, do we have the right facilities? Do we have fans that are operable? Do we have misters? And is the water working? Is the well, all of those different things. The good thing is, and what's really come together this year is this has been incrementally as we've added animals, we've also added people like on our team as far as like kind of caregiving. And that's been a really fun thing to experience, of this extending beyond like me and Angela and our capabilities to do this, because we could not do this by ourselves. We have a fantastic team of volunteers and a fantastic team of volunteers where many of those have like rose into like leadership positions. Like we have some people who are very dedicated to medical care, who know all of the meds that need to get given. They're making sure that they're given each day, whether by them or somebody else. And then there's others that are on like the animal care team side to make sure that all of the movement, because you can imagine a new resident moves in, so somebody's here and somebody's here, and all of the coordination of that is with this like just big machine of people. So I guess in saying that, if you're interested in helping as a volunteer, know that your volunteer efforts can be feeding, watering, poop scooping. It can be generating marketing campaigns and writing grants. It can be finding people to donate hoses and wells and all sorts of things. So yeah, our team is busting at the seams in all sorts of areas, and we're excited about that, because with the new 40 acres coming, there's a lot of preparation to be had and a lot of like facilitating of care that will be needed.
Sure. I mean, that alone probably needs its own general project manager. I mean, just that part alone. As you're talking, I'm thinking of it as a business, and I'm hearing all the parts, and it's important for the survival and thrival
for sure
of your residents and you. I mean, you have to still have a life. I mean, your heart is forward, but you still have to, like, I mean, man, you still have to live. You have to manage your lives, right? And have a little quiet time.
Exactly. Yeah. And I will admit that I struggle to do that, because the piece, especially at the beginning, the sanctuary is still an escape, but it very much was that at the beginning. It was a hobby, something that was welcome to kind of go do. And now I still love every moment of it, but it is more of and it's an active service, but it is a required active service. There is no choice now to do they get the meds or do they not. It is commitment. This is tied. This needs to happen. So it's making sure that I kind of create that time to find myself as something that I'm working to, like, all right, got to have that. I work a pretty demanding, I should say, like job during the week in IT. So
JOB, like as we call those, or JOB.
Exactly. That is my JOB. With a company called Motive, and it's a fantastic company. I've worked with them since I got out of college. That what allowed the sanctuary to be paid for at the very beginning. And but it's like, those are my two kind of passion projects, is growing each of those together. And it's been great. You mentioned it's a business. The sanctuary has very much become a business. I mean, we purchasing nearly $1 million worth of land and doing hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of fence building and caring for all the, there's like a very much like a side of like, okay, there's some like profit and loss statements that have to be generated here to make sure all of this is happening. So being able to like shift to that mindset is something I'm very grateful for, like my work and time at Motive and like kind of my college experience, because I'm able to come into it like as an empath to like feel and care for the animals. But like, there's so much more to this than just fostering and facilitating feeding and medical care. It's how do we create an infrastructure that allows for that to all actually exist? And that's where the JOB mindset is able to come into play.
Yeah. Oh, it's so amazing. And honestly, without even you saying that you're going to do this part, you're advocating, you are advocating. And so that's a whole other level, right?
Yeah. I think that is where, at like my core and at my wife Angela's core, we are not, even though I support this type of activism, we're not, our mind does not go to like kind of standing on the side of the road with like signs, or going in like kind of doing the cube of truth, like very in front, kind of more aggressive isn't even the right word, but more just like forward facing activism. It's never really, that's not our style. It's not personally how we can connect, but the way that we can advocate is that there's 100 residents that are amazing, and we have a platform of tens of thousands of people, and our form of advocating is so easy, because all I have to do is point a camera at a pig and say, look how beautiful they are, and watch them be. I sometimes will add text to like comments and things like that to help describe the story, but there's all of it is loaded there. If you look at our post from yesterday evening, there's big old cows getting treats out of my hands. Like, there's not much more to say than that, than like, oh, cows should be able to get treats and hang out next to a pond that they love to have a dip in, and like, it's done. So it's great, because it's like giving them an opportunity to advocate for themselves. They don't have a voice that we can hear oftentimes, but when channeled through social media, Bo Diddley, Doya, Buddy, all of them do have voices now.
Oh, 100%. Now, as you're talking, and I'm thinking about social media and kids right now, like, here's a great opportunity that you are giving people something fresher to
Yeah.
look at. Now, tell us about your volunteer population that is kind of catering to teenagers. Are you like, how can kids come and pet a cow and support what you're doing here?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great question. I mean, and it's a huge part of our mission, is that we want to change the way that society views farmed animals through the interaction and like direct connection to them. So whether that's happening on social media or in person, and the best way and the only way to change the future is through children. You know,
Yes.
all of us adults can
Ooh,
make
I got
adjustments.
goosebumps.
Yeah, me every time there's a kid here, I get goosebumps because I get to see somebody who's going to be influenced. And I can tell you, if I was at a farm animal sanctuary when I was 13, the decisions and trajectory that my life probably would have had then would have been hopefully led to this point, but just there would have been so much that could have changed my just lifestyle and awareness and the conversations I was having. So getting to see when kids are out here, and I say kids of all ages, getting to see them kind of light up in a different way is incredibly touching. And so I guess then kind of thinking about that, ways that kids specifically can kind of get involved. If volunteering or things like that isn't necessarily y'all's gig, or people want to start off, you can email us, tours@austinfarmsanctuary.org, and schedule private tours and come out and meet and dabble and kind of get a feel for it.
Highly recommend the tour. It is,
Yeah.
It's special. It's so close in, and it's neat. It's neat. So highly recommend the tour.
Thank you. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, it's I mean, the first time when you walk on down and you're like, okay, we're heading to the big pigs, and your brain isn't able to yet compute who you're about to meet. You've seen them on Instagram, you've seen videos, you feel like you've had it, and then you see Willie in person walk up, you're like, wow. And just a whole part of your, like you mentioned at the beginning, like now you have this extra awareness and your empathy and like all of these things are just like, okay, recalculating, like understanding. And so yeah, tours are a fantastic way to connect, but we do have some like younger teen volunteers that have really started coming out around kind of around a lot, which is super awesome. So if you would like to, or your kids like to, I mean, most of the parents come and park outside the gate and read a book in the shade and say, hey, Chris, they'll, at noon, send them back to the gate, and they come. And at this point, most of the time they're able to go and do scooping or brush the animals or do different care. And yeah, being able to foster and facilitate that kind of connection is just so important to, again, just see a wider swath of the world. Me riding in the back of my mom's car when I was a kid and seeing cows along the freeway was like seeing trees or something where they were a part of like the landscape. But then you come and you get to meet a cow or meet a pig, you see an animal so much differently. So yeah, love having kiddos out to be able to do that. And I can't wait until we move to the next property, because the opportunity for like those kind of educational and enrichment, to having field trips come out and being able to facilitate so much more as far as people go will be great.
Yeah. World staying,
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Because that was tough as well for you guys with quarantine. That really cut off, I know, a lot of physical help that you guys were getting. So update us on, where you're at with, COVID.
Yeah. 2020 was a ride, because as I mentioned, we were growing a lot, but then it did get to where, obviously between like March and August, it was kind of like, it was actually like back to like me and Angela, like the original days, and a couple of key volunteers that were able to come out. The great thing about volunteering here is it's all outdoors. We have a barn that you go through for maybe 30 seconds. So like, it's about as like safe of a volunteering space as you can have. But we also knew so little early and middle of last year that we like to push things.
Right.
But as we gain more awareness, yeah, exactly. But the silver lining of it all is, well, twofold. I started working from home because my job went completely remote. So that allowed for me to be here in the mornings and the evenings to facilitate instead of on the road. But we saw our volunteer numbers increase dramatically in the fall of 2020 because people were in a position where they're like, I want to get out of my house and see other people and connect with animals, and I want to do it safely. So you come out and there's 3 people volunteering with you. You're all 15 feet apart very easily, 100 feet apart, whatever. And I think that there's something that I kind of almost took for granted because I've been in this world for a little while, that I got to see in other people's faces, is just like how rejuvenating it is to be around an animal. You know, people coming out and just like being on like hour 4 of their volunteer shift. And I'm like, hey, aren't you like, you can, which is an hour and a half or 2, but they're still there.
Right.
And they're just like, I just need the connection. And there's a 700-pound pig laying there, getting their belly rubbed and just chilling. And it's like, and it was able to, which has been good for me because I can take this for granted a little bit because it's normal. It's hard to feel rejuvenated by things that feel so normal until you get the perspective shift of like, I want to see these animals in the world and the sanctuary in the same way that our volunteers do, so fresh and so kind of enlightening and inspiring. And that's been great to, again, be able to be like, have my excitement like be re-sparked by them every time I see them out here and their diligence to be with the animals and interest. So 2020 was a ride, but honestly, it concluded with a huge injection of life at the sanctuary and people wanting to be involved and feeling like they were way too connected to things that, you know, their phones or inside or going to like bars or things that they thought was like their connection point. And then that was taken away from them for a while, or they were given an abundance of being inside or technology. And by the end of 2020, we're ready to break from that. And we've been a happy human sanctuary and refuge in that same way that people can come and detach from what they were so happily ready to escape. And that's been a happy consequence of the last year and a half.
So great. So great.
Yeah.
With our last couple of minutes, can you just give us highlights of some of your events? Because you do some really fun events.
Yeah. So I think that we might be at the vegan market on October 3rd at Vegan Nom, which is off of East Cesar Chavez or right there kind of over by, but just look at Vegan Nom, it's by Counterculture. There's a little area there. And then we're going to have a camp out in November. So our campouts are always a huge hit. Come camp at the sanctuary. We have a big screen where we have movies. People set up tents all over the property and come hang, make s'mores, meet the residents, wake up to the roosters crowing and feed the animals. And so those are what's planned for now. We're super, super lucky to be working with an amazing architecture and engineering company to design the next sanctuary. A company called Lake Flato has offered to like do some pro bono work and support us as a nonprofit. So we're working with them to figure out what the timing of all of that will be. But then maybe towards the end of this year, or the beginning of next, we'll have like a grand opening of the new land, which is going to be exciting. So until then, scheduled tours, we're keeping things still a little smaller where possible. And then keep in touch with us on social media and join our newsletter through our website to find other random pop-up events that we might choose to do depending on timing.
Yes, absolutely. I would just want to say it is so easy to support Austin Farm Sanctuary with a little Venmo payment. I find myself, I'm like, didn't I just put that picture? Oh, I'm just going to send another 25 bucks. I just can't help myself. I have no idea how much I've sent you.
I love it.
I'm so random. Do you have a member, like where people set up like a whatever sustainer kind of thing?
Yeah, that's awesome. So Venmo is great. So thank you for all the love, Ryan. Yeah, our little $2 Tuesdays or $5 Fridays. Spare yourself a drink and send Buddy some love is always super welcome. But we do. So if you on our website, austinfarmsanctuary.org, there's a donate button at the top right, and you can choose to donate monthly, which is incredibly helpful for us to budget. Somebody 100% in this email or during this conversation has emailed me to asking if we can take in a resident. And the ways that we're able to say yes is obviously to hit certain criteria, but do we have a budget? And being able to say we have X number of dollars plan for the future allows us to make those decisions. So getting monthly commitments is incredibly helpful. You can also do that directly towards certain residents. So click on the Meet the Residents page at the top of our website. You'll see every resident, all 100 residents in our care, have their own page, their own bio, their own select stories. And you can donate directly to their care. Exactly. Buddy's little MySpace. And you can choose to donate directly to them and have them as your little sponsored animal for the next couple months, years. They're great birthday gifts. They're, as the holidays are coming up soon, they're great Christmas gift is saying I've sponsored Wendell, a memory in honor of Wendell for a year, or giving to Valentine. So then when you come out, you get to be like, this is my Valentine, this is them. So yeah, monthly sponsorships directly to residents is huge.
Thank you. You just helped me with my Christmas list for my old.
There we go.
Yay. That's awesome. I love that. Anything else you want to say before? I could talk to you for hours, but we both have things to do.
And I could talk for hours.
Yeah. So beautiful.
I know I appreciate the opportunity. I mean, I got choked up earlier thinking about Wendell. Of course. Really just because I care about him so deeply, but I got this in the mail yesterday. You probably won't see it because my background, from some of the ladies, the techs over at A&M that cared for him. And I just want to, and I get choked up thinking about it really because I love Wendell and all of the residents here. But what's most exciting and touching for me is that you love Wendell and our residents, and 18,000 people on Instagram love our residents in Wendell. So this started with just me and Angela having a connection and a dream that other people would have that same connection. And it's not validating for my dream, but it's validating because those that I care for and care about are so loved. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to talk about the sanctuary. It's incredibly humbling to just know that people care. And to everybody out there that follows and thinks something special about one of our babies, I'm just really grateful that we have that opportunity to share their love and get to feel y'all's love.
Fantastic. Win-win.
Thanks,
Win-win.
Ryan.
All the feels. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for your time today. And for everybody watching, I know you learned something new today. I know you did. I know your eyes were open to something you didn't know. And do share this interview. Support Austin Farm Sanctuary on all its platforms. And you had some great ideas today. Thank you, Chris. I'm really excited about that. So we are excited to follow your journey to your new property. And, we look forward to just loving on those animals virtually and in person as soon as I can get over there.
100%.
Anyway. So again, all of these interviews are on my YouTube channel called the Nonprofit Shoutout. And next week, I'm going to be talking to someone from Fostering Hope. So tuning in again next week on Thursday. And again, thank you so much for your time, Chris. And everybody that watches and shares and just helps support nonprofits in general. It is such a needed thing. So Ryan Lanier, Organizing for Good. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great day.